In this clip, I speak with Logan, who's a professional soccer player, about how to reframe mistakes and use the past to empower your present performance and overall experience. We shift the perspective from regret to growth, unlocking a more confident and effective way to pursue your goals. I also share a powerful story about another professional athlete who's embodied this mindset to perfection. Let's take a look. You have a limiting belief that you are not good enough to play for Barcelona. Prove it. And you can, because you're looking at why you're not good enough. But we're not looking at that stuff anymore, are we? We're looking at only why you're good enough. So you're going to prove to yourself you're not good enough to play for Barcelona if you're only looking at when you screw up or when you're injured. But that's what you're looking at. What about all the times you're successful? What about all the good passes? What about all the goals? What about all the things you did really, really well? How much time do you give them? How much celebration?
Yeah.
It's fleeting, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to get into that actually, because this is an interesting point that I just thought of. So like all the games, all the trainings, like I watch them back, and like I watch myself playing. And part of that is to, see where I screwed up, see what I could have done better in that situation to kind of learn from it.
Yep.
So is there a balance of that, of where it's like, okay, wow, like, this one you could have done better here, and this one you did well. Like,
you never screwed up. You're playing as optimally as you possibly can. So how can you screw up? Okay, so this is what happens. Is I want you to see when you're watching tapes, I learned from that. I'm proud of what I did. It was the best I could do, and I learned from it, and here's what I'm going to do next time.
Yeah.
Do you see the difference? Instead of saying, I screwed up?
Yeah.
Now there's fault, there's discouragement, there's disempowerment. You feel like a failure instead of a student learning.
Yeah.
Never say I screwed up. Always say I did the best I could, but here's what I learned from that. I did the best I could, but here's what I learned from that. And not, I'll do better. I'm going to do better. I'm going to do better. That can build some pressure too. You're just going to say, I learned from this and I'll do my best. Do you see the difference between saying, I'll do better next time and I'll do my best next time? I'll do better is putting pressure on yourself to do better. Now you've got anxiety and stress to carry around into that performance. If you say, I'll do my best, well, that's kind of a given. So you're not putting the pressure, but you're also setting the goal. You better do as good as you can. So you're not giving yourself slack. You're pushing yourself to perform better, but it's just a little recalibration with the way you think.
Yeah.
So 2 things about Barcelona having that fear. Look at it and laugh and replace it and be like, no, I got this. I believe in myself. Okay? Because everything I'm teaching you to do is going to reprogram conscious and subconscious state of being to get rid of that limiting belief. But it will take basically practice and resilience and hard work. It'll take repetition to hammer that in. It's kind of like, those ironsmiths, the blacksmith making the sword. Like, we have to hammer this stuff into the position, into that sword, to be able to use that. And then we have to sharpen that blade, and then we have to get good at using it. That's what we're doing. I'm teaching you the very basics of how to think in a completely different way, change your perspective to transform your experience. So when you're talking about that fear, that will naturally disassemble itself and diminish over time through these practices. Are you with me on that?
Yeah.
And then watching the tapes, you're always learning. Could you see Ronaldo sitting there and going, I really screwed up. I really screwed up that one. Could you see Michael Jordan saying that to himself? Right?
Yeah.
They don't take the time to pause and marinate in I screwed up. They go, I'm going to do the best I can next time. I learned from this. This is how I'm going to improve. They turn it into a challenge.
Yeah.
Of I can be better because now I know this, but they don't get down on themselves. They don't sit down in themselves in that soup of discouragement. Here's a really good story when that will kind of answer your question about the tapes perfectly. It was the first year that Kobe was playing for the Lakers, and they had made it to the finals, and he was this up and coming,
Yeah.
inspiration, and everybody was talking about this guy's going to be something. He already is. And they're playing this game, and they're down, and in order to move on to the finals, they've got to score, and so they're like, let's give it to Kobe. They pass to Kobe. He shoots, misses. You're like, all right, we still got time on the clock. Let's do it again. Give it to Kobe again. They pass it to Kobe, shoots, misses again. Now, it's third time. Coach is like, hey, I don't know. Kobe missed twice. Give it to him a third time. Kobe gets the ball. Third time, shoots, misses. They lose the game. They're out of time. Kobe's on the bench. His hands are over his head. He's just kind of like almost in this like grievous state. His head, he's hunched over his head, just coupled in his hands. And the commentators look over and they're like, man, look at this guy. He's giving himself such a hard time, beating himself up. And they go and they talk to him and interview and be like, we saw that at the end, afterwards, it was real emotional for you. And he goes, what does emotion have to do with it? I wasn't emotional. When my head was in my hands, I was replaying the shots over and over again. And now I know where I kind of made a mistake, and I know exactly what to do moving forward. And that's what I'm going to do. I was just learning from what I did. He lost the finals, Logan. His whole team, in a sense, he could have been like, I let my whole team down. I failed. And he could have just sat in that soup. What did he do the next season and the season after that and the season after that? Do you see that even in the most important moment of the entire team's lineage for that season, he did not get down on himself in the negativity?
Yeah.
You're watching tapes for practice or a game. Don't you dare get down on yourself for that. Don't you bring that shit into a game. Don't you bring that shit into a finals or a championship match. It's not allowed. You learn from the past or you let it go. You let it empower you or teach you, or you don't look at it. You never judge yourself in the negative light because it hampers your growth and your performance moving forward. You learn from it and you say, I know what I'm capable of, and I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to make that goal next time. I'm going to take my time and take a breath before that pass. I'm going to, so you learn. You're not just like, no, I'm perfect as I am. It's kind of like seeing yourself like technology. Is technology perfect right now?
No.
Is technology the most advanced it's ever been?
Yes.
Will it be more advanced tomorrow?
Yeah, probably.
That's how you see yourself. I'm not perfect, but I'm the best I've ever been, and I'll be better tomorrow. But do you see how you become this unstoppable force of momentum for growth, elevating performance and strength there?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've given you a lot about being the soccer professional. Is there anything else you want to ask within that before we jump
Yeah,
topics over here?
I think the one thing that I'm kind of curious about, and maybe this just comes with the mental processes as I practice them and put them into my day-to-day life, but there's always an emotion attached to it. Like I can feel it in my stomach or my chest to that extent, like along with the negative thought processes. Does that emotion kind of drizzle away, that fear emotion or that feeling right here? Like, does that kind of
Does that
go
happen
away
when you're playing soccer?
when I'm playing? Like sometimes when I'm playing soccer, like maybe not win, but like before or after going over it, or even the thought of Barcelona gives me that kind of feeling.
So beforehand, you have time, because you're not playing live, to kind of regulate your sympathetic nervous system and to understand that emotion, when I go speak on stage, I'll get nervous. Like I'll get the nerves. I'm not like trembling over in the corner, but you get that little wave of nerves, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I tell myself is, you're getting that because that's how you prepare, because this is important. So it's not a bad thing because it's common. And I don't want to make that into a bad thing because now I'm going to walk on stage saying, I have anxiety. I don't feel good. Right. So all the nerves are a preconditioned response that I'm going to go up on stage. I'm going to go perform. And there's a chance that people may judge me for it. So my mind's going through all that stuff. And I don't think about that. I get the nerves and I pump myself up and I beat my chest. It's literally like neural linguistic programming. Like, I got this. I'm so grateful. I'll pinch my ear and tap myself. And you can kind of pre-do some of these things. I can teach you a little bit about it, but basically we're hyping ourselves up before the game, before the practice and saying, I got this, being the motivational speaker, the locker room coach. And the nerves are fuel, they're power to step into that. So see that the feelings you're feeling and transmute that into empowerment. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one aspect of it. And then to answer your question, it will dissipate over time if you're feeling like scared or fearful or doubt or shame. It's kind of like, you know how your shins, I could probably kick you in your shin and it won't hurt nearly as much as if you kicked me in my shin. Why is that? Me being a
Because
non-soccer professional.
I guess I'm confused by the question.
So if I kicked you in your shin,
Yeah.
that would not hurt you nearly as much as if you kicked me in my shin. Because I don't play soccer. My shins aren't conditioned to take these blows
Yeah. Okay.
every single day. You've been conditioned. Your shins are conditioned to be very strong and resilient to those forces. Okay. So when you start doing all this stuff, you're training, conditioning your mind and your spirit to be very strong in the face of competition and performance. So as a natural byproduct, you won't get as anxious and nervous. It won't bring you down. You may get a little spike, but it won't be like monumental. It won't be disability, like a
Yeah.
disability in a sense there.
Yeah.
Debilitating is the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So it's okay to have this emotion. We need to channel it. And before, that's what you're going to do. But afterwards, say if you get that fear afterwards and you're watching tapes and you get the fear that comes in, like that inside of you of like doubt and shame, and you're having the negative thought, same process. Recognize the negative thought. Say, I don't think like that. I believe in you. You got this. You're doing the best you can. And then take yourself to the future experience for a moment and see yourself sliding across the field in Barcelona, signing the contract. Replace the negative thought and feeling with a positive thought and feeling. And what happens is that starts training our mind, our sympathetic nervous system, to know that we don't have to sit here and marinate in the negativity. We're going to quickly pivot to positivity and feel those emotions and have those thoughts instead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So you're kind of training yourself not to think that way anymore. And then after giving this some time and letting this build some familiarity, you're going to see that you're just not affected. You don't get emotionally like scared or negative or shameful or doubting yourself nearly to the capacity. It may come in and you'll kind of see it and you'll be like, I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
Get out, and you'll quickly pivot from there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Is all this resonating?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I think to an extent, there's been part of me that, has done it. Like,
Yeah.
Every morning I'll get up and be like, I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for my health and things like that. Like these positive things have kind of actually like, in the past few months have kind of just resonated with me, and I've kind of just started doing them on my own. So it's funny to have this now.
Yeah, this is perfect. So now, when you were really practicing soccer, let's say like in high school, and then you played through college, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you practiced soccer for 5 minutes in the morning, how great of a soccer player would you be?
Not good enough.
And if you practice soccer intermittently throughout the day for 5 hours, how great would you be?
Pretty good. Yeah.
If you make self-love and self-empowerment an obsession that you're doing often throughout the day, that's what I do, of presence, finding presence and marinating in presence, finding gratitude and bathing in that gratitude, and pumping myself up with positive, encouraging thoughts regarding being a father, a husband, a mindset spiritual teacher, a speaker, an author, an entrepreneur. You become this incredibly resilient, amazing, high performing thinker, beer, doer, because you've given so much time, energy, and space into mental, spiritual health that now you're a rock star. And it's kind of like Kobe, he would go in and practice for an hour and a half before practice. 4:30 a.m., 4 a.m. He would go in and practice before the rest of the team would come practice. And the people that do this and just dedicate themselves, Jordan and these crazy athletes that are really doing this, if you do this mentally, coupled with playing soccer, you're just going to see yourself skyrocket in this positive space. So do the visualization meditations and then find the gratitude, find the encouragement, be that force for yourself every moment that you're playing soccer as much as possible. And then when you step away, allow yourself to recharge, but also claim that positivity and be like, you did great today. Here's what I did well today with. Let me replay that. Let me share about that. Let me talk about this. I'm grateful for the learning, what I learned and the things that I can improve upon. You see, everything becomes this huge show where you are just looking for the stuff to find the drive and the resilience to be unstoppable until you get to Barcelona or do whatever you wish with this.
Yeah.
And then if you keep consistent here, you'll look back and be like, damn, Joe was telling me I was going to slide across this field in Barcelona. I'm glad I got it all. That's over there. Yeah, I'm going to need front row tickets, brother. So I will come out to there and watch you. But it'll happen. It'll happen for you because you're throwing everything in the kitchen sink at if this is so important to me and I want to have the most fun loving soccer, this is what I'm going to do.